Hello friends. A handful of you have asked me how you decide how long a story is going to be and how you control the length of your story. And I thought that was a good topic for a short video. So let's talk about story length. To me, there are three basic variables, okay? The first is where you start. The second is how many steps to get there. And the third is how many people are involved, which I will call the A plot, B plot, we'll say sitcom rule. Okay, so what you want in a story and its length is, if you want a short story, then you want to start, well, let's start with number 2. You want very few steps to get to the climax or the point of epiphany, resolution, setup. Okay, so we'll call that a point of pivot. All right, so you want as few steps to get from the point of the conflict or the climax. You want a very short setup to get there. You know, in a short story, it might be 1 or 2 scenes in order to get there. In a longer novel, then this setup is much longer to get to this conflict, this climactic point, right? And the resolution. Now, the length of the setup also tells you where you're supposed to start your story. So if you want it to be short and you want to get to this climactic point quickly, then you only want 1 or 2 scenes, maybe 3, and then you want to start where you're almost at the point where they're making the decision that gets them to the resolution. If you want a longer story, then you need to start it sooner and then build us to this climactic point. And then the third thing, which is how many people are involved. If you want a much longer story, if you're looking for novella or novel length, then you add extra people. So you might have, here's your climactic point and your resolution. And one person is moving this way, and then you have a separate person who's also maybe moving, and then their climactic point is over here. And that moves the resolution out. I think of this as a Star Trek thing because some later Star Trek, you might remember, the episodes had a main plot point, which is usually like the serious one, and then it had like a humorous one where, you know, people were having bar fights or whatever, and that was a B plot that was going on at the same time. And when you do that, you expand the amount of time you spend getting to the end of the story. And so that's how you end up with these epic novels that describe a war, and they do it from multiple viewpoints. That's a way to make the story longer. If you need those multiple viewpoints to make the resolution make sense, then you kind of have to do it that way. So, you know, we'll run through, let's see, a quick example. Let us say that you have a protagonist and her name is Tiffany, and her father just married a new stepmother, and she's got a whole new family, and she has to figure out how she feels about that and whether she wants to accept it or not. If you wanted a short story, then you would pick a plot point. Say she's allergic to dogs, and the new stepmother and her stepbrother, they have a dog, or she's afraid of them or something like that. Then you would be, if you wanted a short story and you wanted her to accept her new family or whatever, then you would start with her facing a dog in an attempt to get over her fear of the dog. And then that's just one scene, right? You only need one scene. She's facing the dog. She figures out how to get over her fear of the dog. And that's one scene. And then you get to the resolution, which is her going to home and finding her new stepmother and being able to greet the dog. And then basically your story is done in 2 scenes. Now, if you wanted to make it longer, then you would have her start further out and you'd say, okay, well, we need several scenes where she's facing her dog fears. And as she's facing her dog fears, here's dog fear or whatever. The second time she faces the dog, she has to deal with the fact that she has unresolved issues with her father marrying again. And that gives her a setback and she fumbles the scene and has to do it again. So now this story is already 2 scenes longer. So we get to the climactic point, that's a 3rd scene, where she has to decide to get over the fear of the dog, and then we get to the resolution. So now we're in longer short story. This could almost be flash fiction. This one is, maybe 5,000, 7,000 words. Now, we want to write a novel, maybe a young adult novel about her fitting in with her family. Maybe we need this second viewpoint. Maybe the second viewpoint is her stepmother or her stepbrother and what they feel about it, or her dad being upset that, it's not working, or he can't help, or he has his own issues. And then you have different scenes here with her interacting with her new family, and then her dad's point of view of what it is, or her stepbrothers. And then you kind of interweave these to get to the point with the dog, and you could do one viewpoint for it, or another, or both, whatever, and then you get to the resolution. If you do, you add enough scenes here, what is it about, living with this family and their setbacks about getting used to it and their stepmother's feelings about it. And by the time you're done, you have, 60,000, 70,000 words. So the important thing to start with estimating how much time your story is going to take is what I would just say. Decide how many steps you want to get there. How long a story do you want to tell? Make this decision, right? Make it first. Do I want a short story? Do I want to tell a longer story? Do I feel like the story would benefit from me explaining it and having the reader live with it longer before it's over? Or do I really want that short lightning strike of, problem resolution basically immediately? So decide, what length do I want to aim for and how many steps do I want to get there? That will tell you where you need to start, how far back do you put the setup? And then decide how many B-plots are there? Are there other people involved? What's their story? What's their involvement with it? How do they contribute to the resolution? So that is my very quick explanation of how you decide how to make a story short or long. And I hope it helps. Let me know. See y'all later.